Another PQ here. This is the Spirit of St. Louis. Anybody know who's the famous aviator? Charles Lindbergh. But where? The question is who? Sort of where is this taken? He actually visited. I'm sorry. Very close, very close, very close. This actually came before Alhambra Airport. The bigger airport was Vale Field in Montebello. So Lindbergh actually landed in Vale Field in Montebello. This was the shot taken in Montebello. And this is completely unrelated. 1927, another PQ. Where is this thing? What is this thing? Huh?
The sewer farm.
The sewer farm. This actually is the mission. These were the ovens in the mission. These were the ovens in the mission, the San Gabriel mission, in 1927. Another shot, 1928. This you should recognize. This is the C.F. Braun building, right? 1000 Fremont. This is Fremont Avenue, Southern Pacific. Again, the train is not in the trench. It rose, and then you went down, and we'll skip this one. This is, you all remember these crossings underground. This is actually Huntington and Fremont. Mines Field. Somebody mentioned Mines Field. And that is you know what that is, right? That is actually a big dirigible, correct?
What is Mines Field?
Exactly. What is Mines Field today? It's LAX. LAX is called LAX since about 1961. This was all Mines Field before that. And this is Alhambra Airport. So Vale Field closed down and Western Airways moved their operations to Alhambra. This was the grand opening in 1930. Huge. I actually have a very good picture of a panoramic picture in high detail. I can't show it here. Do any of you know what this airline crossing is? Before there were these freeways, just to the south of us was a 4-mile route just to the south called the Ramona Boulevard Airline Crossing. It was actually it almost was the first freeway. The first freeway was the Pasadena Freeway, like the 110 freeway. But this came before that and almost took the title. And the question for you guys is, why was it not the first freeway? There were 5 criteria for a freeway. It didn't meet one. What? You got to speak up. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I don't want to ignore you. It did not have a barrier between the two sides. So it was an airline freeway. It's called an airline freeway because it had unimpeded access, high speeds, but it did not have a separation. 70 people died in the first 4 years of operation until they put head-on collisions, horrific. So they put a barrier. They learned the lesson there. When they built the Pasadena Freeway, it was separated, okay? So back to our own story. 1934, Atlantic and Hellman. Some of you recognize this? This is pretty close to, you can almost see the Pasadena Freeway on the other side. And I'm going to now keep switching. This is along the future Pasadena Freeway route. It starts to get built. 1938, Valley and Fremont. Valley and Atlantic. And a commuter railroad, a Pacific Electric station in Alhambra near Sierra Vista Avenue. This is not a pop quiz question, but do any of you know what this map is? It's got all kinds of black and white, black and white, black and white squiggles everywhere, except there isn't very much in Alhambra. You can see Alhambra, South Pasadena, San Marino doesn't have any of that, but everywhere else there's all these black and white things. This was 1938. Massive amount of flooding, massive amount of destruction, massive amount of washing away of freeways and roadways and everything else. In fact, this was an accounting of all the different losses of the different roads, okay, due to that one storm. And this was not half of it. San Bernardino had it much worse. Central California had it much worse. This was destruction beyond imagination. We're already beginning Second World War, remember? Pasadena Freeway continues to be built. These are some shots of that. Back to Alhambra again. Torrey Pines on Alhambra Road. I just couldn't resist. This is the shot of it today, by the way. This is how it looked back then. See the nice trees out there? Kind of bare today, isn't it? I showed you a picture of the C.F. Braun building before that. This is another shot of that. You can see it's C.F. Braun because I blew this up, C.F. Braun. This is Fremont, as you can tell, right? And what would this be? Anybody guess what this area is today? Is Coles? Yeah. Pasadena Freeway, still being built. You can already see the channelization of the Arroyo Seco, right? You can see the channelization. More heavy construction. Remember, this is happening during the war. And the freeway is finished. Brand spanking new freeway. And I don't know why my slides are slightly off. What I wanted to show you was this was called the 205 freeway. So here's part of the problem doing this research I discovered. If you start to do the simple-minded stuff and say, oh, tell me more about 710 or tell me more about 110, you'll get nowhere because these names and numbers have changed so often in this period of time that it just throws everything off. This actually will come back. This was actually called the 205 freeway at that time. This is taken from the Arroyo Bridge looking south. You can tell, you can almost tell this is the place where as you're coming up, there's a South Pasadena stonework, remember, that is lit up.
What year was this from?
1941.
So the golf course was there
Yeah.
at the time.
And by 1948, traffic jams. Right? That's going nowhere. Look at this. Still more, again, this was out of place, but it was a massive construction works. And with more cars, what do you think came? Smog. In the middle of the war, the LA Times said, on July 26th, in the midst of World War II, Los Angeles was attacked, not by a foreign enemy, but by a domestic one, smog. This is a famous picture. I teach air quality, I taught air quality, I do consulting for air quality. This is a famous picture that we use in class. This is City Hall, you can see. This is a young lady trying to make her way, just an office worker. And many of you probably remember the days in the 70s, 60s, right? Smog was far worse. I had a few Pacific Electric cars, mainly to show that this is impressive, number of miles of track. We still don't have that many miles of track in all of our current metro system. This continued, this is 1943 actually. And I was going to show this to you with a pop quiz, but what do you think the Ramona Freeway, it was called the Ramona Freeway all that time, the Ramona airline, we call it I-10 today. That's I-10. That's the same picture, exactly the same picture, and the same signage, okay? Same location. The numbers have changed. It's the Ramona Freeway in the 50s, in 58, and this is much more recent. Back to smog. And this I want to show you because this was such a big deal that in terms of number of citizen activists, this was unheard of. In 1954, smog was so bad that 6,000 people in Pasadena packed the Civic Auditorium. 6,000 people. If you can read the sign, I've blown it up here. Why wait till 1955? We might not even be alive. That's what it said here. They all bought out these Second World War gas masks, okay? They're wearing them all here. This was actually the Highland Park Optimist Club. I thought that was hilarious. These were the optimists. All of you remember backyard trash burners? Yeah. It wasn't just cars, it was this too, right? And we had entrepreneurs. People actually were selling genuine Los Angeles smog in these cans. And look at the caption. This is actual smog, okay, by this enterprising Hollywood actor. It actually was pretty accurate. Hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, aldehydes. He just missed ozone. He didn't know about ozone, but that's okay. Yeah? That brings us to the 30s. I'm going to pick up the thread again back from Long Beach. So I told you that cars started to be manufactured in LA, right? Because there's so many cars, there's a big market for cars. By the way, how many cars are made in Southern California today? How many cars are actually built today in Southern California? Let me ask you differently. When was the last time a car was actually built in Los Angeles? I mean a production car, not a car for enthusiasts. 92 actually. The Van Nuys plant shut down in 92. So that was the last production car company. But car companies were starting to build here. This is the Ford plant in 1930, Studebaker, Vernon. So what had happened as Los Angeles grew, that part that we call today Vernon, Maywood, Huntington Park, all of that was called the Central Business District. That was sort of the industrial area, right along the LA River, Atlantic, Bandini, all those areas. And this, you don't have to read the chart, but Ford, Wiley's, Chrysler, Studebaker, plants were open, plants were closed, and this will be a quick little graphic I was just trying. You may not be able to see this. These are the history of the car companies opening here and there. And so Port of Long Beach said, we will export these cars. Cars are being built, we will be an export port. Cars will be built, they will go to Long Beach, and they will go overseas. What do you think happened to that story? All disappeared after a while, right? And the flow reversed. We became an import port. So the whole reason the 710 began was to facilitate an export pathway for cars from the Central Business District of Los Angeles to points all around the world, and it didn't play out that way. Instead, it became an import port. What is fascinating about this is the initial funding for the 710 planning was paid for entirely by the city of Long Beach. Not by the state of California, not by anybody else, but the city of Long Beach said, we will have this connection to the Central Business District, so we will facilitate to feed the port, right, of all the exports. I mean, it was an ungodly amount of money, okay? In the very beginning, they had modest sum of money to build, but the eventual in 1947, okay? I'll show you some pictures here. In the beginning, so this is the route, right? This is the route that comes in. The freeway was supposed to go Garvey, you can see the main street. This is Huntington. It was supposed to extend and join the, remember what I told you, Route 205 is actually the Pasadena Freeway? The freeway was going to come here and go all the way to the Pasadena Freeway. Well, a couple of years later, that wasn't going to happen. It was going to stop at Huntington Drive. And that was the plan for a long time, that it would stop at Huntington Drive. And then eventually there were plans to extend it all the way to the other freeway being built, the 210 freeway. There was any number of things happening where that freeway would go through Alhambra, stop at Huntington, go all the way to the Arroyo. Those things were happening in the 30s and 40s. This is the Toyo Pet Crown in 1957. Have any of you heard about the Toyo Pet? This was the first Japanese car that arrived as an import in the port of Los Angeles in 1957. This was the restored version. This car was an absolute wreck. It was designed for Japanese roads, which are very bumpy. When they apparently ran on American roads, when he went beyond 60 miles an hour, they rattled so much you couldn't even see through the rear view mirror. Okay. But the point I'm showing this to you is how quickly the Japanese imports came and reversed that idea for car manufacturing to feed an outbound traffic, and instead it became an inbound traffic.